Dear students, today we are going to talk about digestive system. Further, that's digestive system 4. So, now we have to talk about processes in digestion. Digestion is the process of breaking food down into small and soluble molecules that body can absorb. So it means that digestion means basically breaking down larger food particles like carbohydrates, proteins, and lipids or the fats into small and soluble molecules. Like we know that carbohydrates will be digested or broken down into different types of smaller molecules and ultimately to the glucose. And then proteins will be digested into dipeptides, tetrapeptides, tripeptides, and so on, and ultimately to amino acids. And fats will be broken down into fatty acids and glycerol. So these molecules are very small and they are absorbable. That is, the body can absorb these into the blood vessels and enter these into the bloodstream so that all cells of the body can use them and blood can distribute them into the body. Now, there are two types of digestive processes. One is called chemical digestion. The other is called mechanical digestion. Now, chemical digestion is basically a process of enzymatic hydrolysis. It means that with the help of enzymes, the bonds they are broken down. This hydrolysis process splits the bonds in molecules with the addition of water. So one water molecule is, or maybe more than one water molecules are utilized in a process of breaking or splitting the bonds in the larger molecules in protein, fats, or carbohydrates, and then convert them into smaller molecules. In mechanical digestion, food is physically broken down into smaller pieces, like, for example, chewing. Like, for example, in the mouth, teeth break down the food into smaller particles by physical force. So there are different types of teeth, we already have talked about them. Canines tear the flesh, break the bones. Incisors basically cut the food into pieces. Then the premolars and molars, they actually grind the hard food or tough food into very, we can say, small pieces or like that. And then next process is called absorption. Absorption is uptake of the nutrients by the body. So when the food is digested mechanically, then chemically, and is converted into the small molecules which could be absorbed by the blood, then absorption takes place. So absorption is basically uptake of the digested nutrients by the body cells ultimately. Then and that happened by a long process, because what happens that first of all, when these different ingredients which are digested, these are absorbed into the through the villi of the small intestine, and then they enter into the cells of the endothelium, and then they are transferred to the capillaries which are passing through those villi. And through capillaries, of course, they enter into the blood vascular system, and then blood distribute to the cells, and the body cells then can absorb these nutrients from the blood. Ultimately, elimination is the passage of undigested material out of the digestive compartment. So it means that food is eliminated, the undigested food is eliminated by the body system. That process is called elimination. For that, it has to be temporarily stored in the large intestine, and then ultimately it is released. Okay, then digestion is also of two more types, like intracellular or extracellular. That is, digestion may happen inside the cell or outside the cell. Now, intracellular digestion means that food particles are engulfed by endocytosis and are digested within the food vacuoles. For that, enzymes are provided by other types of organelles inside the cell, which releases the enzymes into the food vacuoles, and then in the food vacuoles, due to those enzymatic reactions, food is broken down. That is called intracellular digestion. That is inside the cell in a food vacuole. Now, extracellular digestion means that this is a breakdown of food particles outside of the cell. That is basically that the animal's body or cells, they releases enzymes outside of the body, and then those, or maybe in the body cavity or maybe outside the body, then those enzymes break down the food particles extracellularly, I mean not inside the cell but outside the cell in a body cavity, like in the case of, for example, cnidarians, or maybe sometimes even outside the body. And then the food, when it is digested, it is taken up by the other types of cells which are meant for absorption. Let's take an example of both the processes each. For example, you see intracellular digestion in sponges. Sponges have a body cavity with ostia and osculum. Now, ostia are the pores for entry of water, and osculum, this is the pore for exit of water. So water comes inside from ostia and go outside from osculum. Now food particles are there in water. These may be bacteria, these may be small zooplankton or phytoplankton and so on. They are taken up by through inside the body by water. So and water enters through ostia. Then they come into the body cavity. Here you can see a diagram of the process. Here you can see a cell, choanocyte. The other cell which is attached to this, close to this, is amoebocyte. What happened that, and this direction is towards the body cavity, in which water is flowing, because there are ostia through which water is entering and is here. Now, these choanocytes do have an extended part called collar, and in the collar there's mucus. Food particles are trapped inside the mucus by the movement of flagella. This flagellum moves and moves the water food particles towards this collar, and collar traps those. These food particles are they have to be taken up by the cell. So it happens by endocytosis, specific endocytosis called phagocytosis. Phagocytosis means entry of food by endocytosis. So it enters inside the body by endocytosis or the phagocytosis, and then they sometimes are digested inside the choanocyte, and then the digested food vacuole enters into the amoebocyte. Amoebocyte moves, as its name says, it can move like an amoeba. So it moves inside the mesoglea, because these are the organisms which are having two body layers, endoderm and ectoderm, and in between there is a gelatinous material called mesoglea. Now these cells, amoebocytes, can move into the mesoglea and distribute that food. There's another possibility that food vacuoles directly pour its contents into the amoebocyte, and they are digested into amoebocyte, and then this is distributed by amoebocyte again. So this is digestion happen in choanocyte or amoebocyte. In either case, this is happening inside the cell in a food vacuole, here, maybe here, or like that. So this is called intracellular digestion, inside the cell. Now the other type is extracellular digestion. It happens in cnidarians. These are also simple animals. They do have a body cavity called gastrovascular cavity. And the difference from sponges is this, that they are having only one opening, that is mouth, and the mouth also acts as an anus. That is, water enters through mouth, moves into the body cavity, and go back through mouth again. So mouth is acting as anus as well. So there is single opening. Now, what happens if we see a cross section from this part, body cavity here? You can see ectodermal cells, middle part, then the inner cell, the endodermal cell, and here the body cavity is. Towards body cavity, you can see food particles. Now these food particles are there inside the water. Now some of the cells releases enzymes here to digest this food inside the water right here. So now what happened, that this digested food is now moving here and there in the water, and cells absorb this food. So this is how digestion actually happen extracellularly outside the cell but inside the body cavity, and then digested food is absorbed by the cells. So this is called extracellular digestion. Now we talk about the next thing, that's the digestive tract. Now what's the digestive tract? Basically it's the digestive tube. It's a tube like system in which digestion happen and absorption happen. So simple organisms like cnidarians, we just have seen hydra. They have a body cavity with a single opening. Here we can see hydra, body cavity with a single opening. So it's a simple tube with one opening.